It's been a July 4th of extreme violence, a minimum of 77 people shot, 14 dead in Chicago, Illinois. Clearly, Black Lives Matter, but Blacks need to take care of themselves as well. And I'm not talking about Black Lives Matter, the group, because that's an insidious, hateful, ultra-leftist group which poses as something that it's not. But everybody's lives matter, of course. And I was heartened to see people out there on the airwaves, African Americans, saying we need to take care of ourselves. Black Lives Matter need to matter to Black people as well. Now, what's really important is that we understand that radical Blacks are being used as pawns by ultra-leftist whites in particular to try to destroy this country, to take it down to ground zero so they can seize control. Clearly, these mass quarantines put on by state governors like Gavin Newsom, like Andrew Cuomo and others were intended to not just destroy the Trump presidency, but to destroy the United States of America so that the left can assume control. And if you look at the polls right now, and the president's not very happy with those polls, particularly as cited by Fox News, which has two faces, as we all know. In the evening, they put on so-called conservative commentary, and during the day, it's pretty far left, except for Fox and Friends. The president criticized Fox this weekend in a tweet, and he urged people to watch One American News and Newsmax. I might add, don't bother with Newsmax. You can't even see the picture, frankly. And Ruddy, who gave $1 million to the Clinton Foundation, another two-faced one, I wouldn't bother with Newsmax. But One American News is okay. I would recommend watching the local stations of Sinclair if you're going to watch TV, because they're truly conservative. I do commentary on Eric Bolling's show there. Others have fled from Fox and have gone to Sinclair. And of course, the most important thing is to listen to Radio America, because they allow me to tell the truth as I see it, and others as well. That's the most honest broadcaster out there, unfiltered. That notwithstanding, I've been watching, and I urge you to do it, the movies Atlas Shrugged. If you can't if you can't read a book, and I suggest that you do get Ayn Rand's book. It was written in 1957 when communism was on the march in the United States. Not as bad as it is today, but it was on the march. You had Richard Nixon's Un-American Affairs Committee on Capitol Hill. You had Alger Hiss. You had Hollywood that was being overrun by communists, as it still is, frankly, but it's more latent today. But Ayn Rand was very, very farsighted. And she talked about and wrote about, and it's shown in these movies, Atlas Shrugged, watch part 1, 2, and 3. It's on Amazon Prime, about the country dumbing down, about everybody being, quote, equal, about not allowing people to excel, not allowing them to use their God-given abilities. Fair Trade Commission, this kind of thing. The government took total control of the people, and an individual by the name of John Gall enlisted industrialists, people in the arts and the sciences and the medical industry, to leave the country, in effect, and set up an alternative country, and to allow the country to be destroyed, because the only way to get rid of the leftist cancer was to destroy the government control of that cancer. Now, we're not quite at that point yet, but if you watch this movie, parts 1, 2, and 3 on Amazon, you'll see scary parallels to what's going on today. The dumbing down of the country, the seizing of control by socialists and communists, seizing of control by government hacks that don't know what they're doing. And of course, on the horizon, and that's why I'm talking about the polls, is Joe Biden, who potentially could be the dumbest person ever to want to occupy the White House. I think he even exceeds George W. Bush and Gerald Ford in modern history in that regard. At least Ford didn't do any harm. He was a caretaker for a few years. W did do harm. We know what he did, and that's how we got Barack Obama. But you need to watch this movie because it tells you what we're up against. Who is John Gall? Who is Larry Clayman? Who are people like that who want to save this country, who see the risk, who are making a clarion call, who are urging the president, Donald Trump, who I support personally in my personal capacity, and I will vote for in my personal capacity. I don't say that as head of Freedom Watch because that's a nonprofit. But The president needs to take action right now. He needs to be John Galt, and we need to be John Galt. And we need to save this country because we're at risk of losing it right now. Just over the weekend, one of the top vice presidential contenders, as the left is pushing, Tammy Duckworth, a congressman from Illinois, wouldn't answer a question as to whether she would take down statues and rename buildings that were named after George Washington, presumably rename the entire Capitol. This is who is on the horizon, these people. And Biden, who has limited his choices to an African-American woman, doesn't have very many choices with that kind of a limitation. And of course, you have Kamala Harris, who's just simply evil. She's smart, but this is an evil witch that is about to take over this country. Because Biden's not going to last. He's going to die, if not before the election, then after the election. And we will be in an Atlas Shrugged situation and condition. So that's my message for today. President, step up to the plate. You know, it was good, your speech over the weekend, but we want action. We just don't want talk. It's not enough to have a park with statues of famous people. It's time to declare these radical leftists, as you have, the domestic terrorists they are, lock them up, charge them, send them to Guantanamo Bay, try them. They are terrorists, and they're trying to destroy this country. They're being financed by foreign powers, by George Soros, who is evil. And it's time that you take strong action before it's too late, before we get into a situation like Atlas Shrugged. Freedom Watch is doing that. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and join our class action against the Chinese. See if you qualify. Our criminal case in The Hague to hold the communist Chinese accountable. And that's another thing. Why is China getting a free pass as the United States and the rest of the world are being destroyed? President, why can't you be stronger with them too? And unless you're stronger, forget about re-election because your base is very unhappy. And that's why they didn't even show up to your recent rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, only 1/3 of the stadium filled. Freedom Watch doesn't need to be the only one out there sticking its neck out for the American people. But go to freedomwatchusa.org and enlist in our Justice League and let the president know we want action. We don't want talk. We're tired of tweets. We need to get the show on the road, clean up the mess, and frankly, arrest these domestic terrorists, try them, and throw them in prison. That's where they should be before it's too late. God bless you. God bless America. God save America. Thank you for listening to me share this podcast on Patreon, on iTunes, on Spotify, on Roku, on freedomwatchusa.org, radioamerica.com, Twitter, the new conservative Twitter, Parlay, which we're up on and we blast out of there. And thank you for listening to me. I'll be back tomorrow with another edition, another special podcast. Until then, may God bless us all, and may he watch over us as we take matters into our own legal and peaceful hands before it's too late. Thank you for listening to me.